Never waste your time chasing someone who's already decided they don't want you. And here's the thing. Women will show you clear signs, whether you see them or not. If you ignore these 5 things, you're setting yourself up to look foolish, desperate, and powerless. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, so you never get played again. We've all been there. You meet a girl, things seem cool at first, but then something starts to feel off. Maybe she stops replying as fast. Maybe the vibe changes. You start overthinking everything you say and do. What if she's just busy? What if she likes me but doesn't know how to show it? Nah, man, stop guessing. People show you how they feel through their actions. And today, I'm breaking down the 5 things a woman does when she's just not into you. No games, no overthinking. Let's get into it. There's a brutal kind of honesty in the way people show us they don't want us. Not through words, but through actions, habits, and little everyday moments. And yet, most of us are too caught up in what we wish was happening to actually see what is happening. The truth is, when a woman stops wanting you, it doesn't come with a big dramatic announcement. It's quiet. It's subtle. It starts small, almost invisible. But those signs grow over time. And if you don't pick up on them early, you end up in this frustrating, one-sided situation where you're putting in effort, chasing validation, and slowly losing your sense of confidence, while she's already halfway out the door in her mind. We live in a time where mixed signals have become a kind of relationship language. People will ghost, breadcrumb, orbit around you without ever fully committing, and you're left guessing what it all means. But here's something most guys don't realize. A woman who truly wants you makes it known. She's consistent. She's curious about your life. She finds ways to stay connected. You don't have to decode vague texts or wonder why she's always too busy. If you're in that situation, it's probably not what you think it is. What makes this so tricky is that many of these behaviors can be brushed off or excused, especially if you're emotionally invested. And trust me, the mind is great at making excuses for the people we care about. Maybe she's just having a bad week. Maybe she's under stress. Maybe she didn't see my message. Sound familiar? That's where guys mess up, by overthinking, overanalyzing, and hoping for signs that aren't really there. And it's not their fault. We're wired to chase things we want, to fight for connection. But what no one tells you is that sometimes the smartest move you can make is to step back and pay attention to the things that aren't being said. Because as soon as a woman starts losing interest, her entire energy towards you changes. And the sooner you learn to catch these signals, the sooner you can stop wasting your time on dead ends and start focusing on people who actually want you around. Let's be real. Nobody likes feeling unwanted. It hits your pride. It makes you question your worth. But ignoring reality doesn't protect you from it. It only makes the fallout worse when it finally hits. So many guys have gone down this road where they chase a girl who's no longer invested, only to end up feeling humiliated and drained. And it's because they missed those early warning signs. What I'm about to tell you isn't meant to make you paranoid or bitter. It's meant to make you sharp, self-aware, and able to spot when something's off, so you can walk away before you lose yourself chasing someone who's already gone emotionally. Think about how people act when they're genuinely excited to see you. It's obvious, right? They light up, they lean in, they ask questions. Their tone is different. You can literally feel the energy shift when someone's into you. Now, reverse that. When someone's not interested anymore, those things disappear. Not because they're evil, but because disinterest is something you can't fake for long. It leaks out in conversations, in how fast they respond, in whether they initiate contact, or if you're always the one reaching out. The tricky part is that it's rarely all at once. It happens gradually, so you get stuck between memories of how things used to be and the weird, uncomfortable reality of how they are now. It usually starts with small changes, things that don't seem like a big deal at first. She used to text you good morning, now she doesn't. She used to laugh at your jokes. Now it's just a polite smile or no reaction at all. She used to suggest plans. Now you're carrying the entire weight of keeping the connection alive. And while you might tell yourself it's just a phase, deep down you feel the shift. Most people ignore this because they don't want it to be true. So they double down, texting more, trying harder, hoping to pull her attention back. But what they don't realize is that when a woman starts emotionally detaching, chasing her harder only pushes her further away. Because now it's no longer a mutual connection. It's you trying to convince someone to care. The worst part about this is that the more she pulls away, the more desperate you feel. You start questioning what you did wrong, whether you said something and whether you weren't good enough. And that's when insecurity creeps in. You stop acting like yourself, trying to be what you think she wants, rather than just being the person she was originally drawn to. And it backfires, always. Because once someone senses that desperation, the dynamic shifts. You lose your power. You stop being the guy she was attracted to and become the guy chasing after her attention. And that's not an attractive position to be in. I've seen this happen so many times, not just in romantic situations, but even in friendships and family dynamics. The signs of disinterest are universal, but in dating, they hit harder because we take it personally. And it makes sense. You invest time, emotions, sometimes money, and the idea of it not working out feels like a loss. But the real loss isn't that she's pulling away, it's staying blind to it while it happens, letting yourself get strung along when you deserve more. Now, when a woman starts losing interest, she won't always be direct about it. Some will quietly fade out, while others keep you around for convenience, attention, or out of politeness. And the signs are there, if you know where to look. I've broken them down because once you recognize them, you'll never be confused again. You'll be able to tell when someone is genuinely into you and when they're just being nice. The difference is huge, and it saves you from wasting energy on people who don't see your value. When you're aware of how these signs show up in real life, it changes everything. You stop clinging to weak connections. You stop chasing half-hearted attention. And most importantly, you start moving with confidence because you know what to look for. And if someone isn't meeting you halfway, you can move on without bitterness or resentment because you saw it coming. That's why this conversation is so important. It's not about turning you into a paranoid, cold, emotionless person. It's about teaching you how to read the room, how to protect your peace, and how to stop investing in people who have already shown you where they stand. The faster you learn this, the faster you avoid falling into that painful, awkward situation where you're the only one still holding on. It's crazy how often people ignore these signs, not because they don't see them, but because they don't want to believe what those signs actually mean. It's like your gut knows, but your heart talks you out of it. That little voice in your head starts making excuses for her. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's busy with work. Maybe she's bad at texting. And sure, sometimes those things are true. Life happens. But here's the thing. People make time for what matters to them. Nobody's too busy for someone they're excited about. And if you've ever been on the other side of that, you know it's true. When you're really into someone, you don't leave them hanging. You don't half reply. You don't avoid conversations. You find little ways to connect because you want to. But when that desire fades, it shows up in how little they engage. And a lot of times, you'll notice that her communication changes first. She used to send you memes, funny videos, random little updates about her day. Now it's just short, dry responses. Conversations feel like a chore instead of something natural. And it's not even that she's being rude. It's just obvious her interest isn't there, like it used to be. And deep down, you notice. We always do. You feel the difference, even if you're pretending not to. Another thing that slips under the radar is when you stop being a priority and start becoming an option. At first, you might have been one of the first people she thought of when something exciting happened, or when she needed to vent, or when she had free time. But little by little, you get pushed down the list. She starts choosing other people, other plans, other things ahead of you. It becomes harder to get her attention, harder to make plans. harder to even get a meaningful conversation going. And instead of seeing it for what it is, a lot of guys double down. They try to do more, text more, impress more, when really the move is to do less, to pull back. Because if someone wants you in their life, they'll make it easy for you to be there. This shift usually becomes obvious in social situations. Pay attention to how she treats you when you're around other people. A woman who's into you will naturally gravitate toward you, even in a group setting. She'll find ways to be near you, involve you in conversations, and include you in her space. But when that energy changes, you'll see her keeping a little more distance, maybe focusing her attention elsewhere, laughing at other people's jokes but barely reacting to yours. You're not imagining it. That's her pulling away in plain sight, hoping you either won't notice or that you'll just accept it without a fight. And it gets worse when you realize how quickly someone else can replace you in those little moments. One day it's you getting the excited texts, the quick replies, the random FaceTimes, and next thing you know, it's someone else in that spot, while you're sitting there trying to piece together what went wrong. But the truth is, it's not always about something you did. Sometimes people just lose interest. It happens. The problem is pretending it isn't happening when the signs are right in front of you. Another classic sign nobody talks about is how conversations change when someone's no longer interested. At first, it's easy. You talk for hours, go deep, laugh about stupid stuff, get personal, and everything feels natural. But when she starts losing that emotional connection, conversations get shorter, drier, and more surface level. You'll notice she stops asking about your day, your plans, your family. She stops remembering the little things you told her. Things you used to bond over now get brushed off, or worse, ignored. And what sucks is that it's rarely a clean break. She might still reply, still occasionally engage, which gives you false hope. But if you're honest with yourself, you'll feel that spark is gone. And this emotional distance can show up in physical ways too. Maybe she used to touch your arm when she laughed, lean in when you talked, make little flirty comments. Now, she keeps her distance, avoids eye contact, gives polite smiles instead of real ones. Even things like hugs or casual touches feel stiff or rushed. And again, your gut notices this way before your brain admits it. You can feel when someone's energy isn't matching yours anymore. It's like trying to hold on to something that keeps slipping through your fingers, no matter how tightly you grip. What makes this even trickier is when she's still nice about it. She might not ghost you completely. She might still say hi or reply to a text here and there, maybe even hang out once in a while. But everything feels forced. It feels like obligation instead of excitement. And you know it. You feel it in how she laughs at your jokes now, not because they're funny, but because it's easier than dealing with awkward silence. You sense it when you tell her good news, and she gives you a lukewarm cool instead of being genuinely happy for you. It's these small emotional withdrawals that add up over time. And most guys miss them because they don't want to believe someone they care about is pulling away. What happens next is where most guys fall into a trap. Instead of recognizing these signs and stepping back, they overcompensate. They start sending long texts, trying to explain how much they care, trying to figure out what went wrong, asking if everything's okay. And while it comes from a good place, it almost never works. Because when someone's made up their mind, especially quietly, it's not words that bring them back. It's absence. It's space. It's showing you're not desperate for attention. But that's easier said than done when emotions are involved. I can't count how many conversations I've had with people who said, I don't get it. Things were going great, and then it just shifted. And the truth is, it's rarely sudden. Most of the time, those signs were there for weeks, maybe months. But when you're emotionally invested, you see what you want to see. You focus on the good moments, the memories, the things she used to do, and you ignore what's happening right now. That's where people get stuck, chasing old energy in a new reality. It's a hard pill to swallow because nobody likes being rejected, even in these subtle, unspoken ways. It feels personal. It makes you question your worth, your attractiveness, your personality. But it's so important to remember that someone else's fading interest isn't a reflection of your value. People lose interest for all kinds of reasons, many of which have nothing to do with you. The real danger is not in being rejected, it's in refusing to see it, in clinging to someone who's already emotionally gone. And this is exactly why it's so powerful when you finally learn to read these signs without overreacting, without getting bitter, and without chasing after people who aren't choosing you. It puts you back in control. You stop wasting time. You stop overthinking. You learn to accept reality for what it is, and you protect your peace. And trust me, the peace you get from walking away from half-hearted connections is way better than the stress of clinging to them. When you finally get to that point where you can spot these signs early, it changes the entire game for you. Instead of constantly being stuck in situations where you're guessing where you stand, you start moving differently. You stop trying to force connections that aren't mutual. You stop begging for attention from people who don't value your presence. And you start naturally attracting better, healthier situations, simply because you're not clinging to the wrong ones anymore. See, what nobody talks about enough is how much your self-respect shows and how you react to people pulling away from you. When you ignore clear signs that someone's not interested and keep chasing them, it lowers your value in their eyes, whether they realize it consciously or not. People are wired to respond to energy. If your energy says, I'll take whatever scraps you give me, you'll keep getting scraps. But when your energy says, I know what I bring to the table, and I won't settle for less, people either step up or they step aside. And honestly, either outcome is a win for you. Now, here's another important shift that happens when a woman doesn't want you anymore. She stops investing emotionally in your success or struggles. Remember when she used to hype you up, get excited about your wins, check in on your rough days, and be genuinely interested in what was happening in your life? That emotional connection fades when interest fades. Conversations start feeling more transactional. She listens, but she's not really there. She offers polite comments, but the warmth is gone. And you'll notice it. It's like talking to a stranger you used to know. It hurts, but it's also one of the clearest signs that someone's no longer emotionally invested. You'll also see the shift in the way she reacts to your availability. When someone wants you in their life, your attention feels valuable to them. It matters. But when they start losing interest, your time becomes less valuable in their eyes. She might cancel plans last minute, take hours, sometimes days, to respond to simple messages. Or she'll always be too busy. But somehow, you'll see her active on social media, hanging out with other people, and doing everything but making time for you. That contrast stings because it's undeniable proof that the issue isn't her being busy. It's her not prioritizing you anymore. And here's where most people mess up. They see this happening, and instead of pulling back, they try to resell themselves. They start flexing. They try to impress her. They try to remind her of why she liked them in the first place. But the truth is, if you have to convince someone to keep you in their life, you're already losing. Genuine connections don't need to be sold, and real interest doesn't need to be chased. You're either wanted or you're not. And one of the strongest things you can do when you notice these signs is to quietly remove yourself. Not in a dramatic, bitter, I'll show you kind of way, but in a calm, self-respecting way that says, I see what's happening, and I value myself too much to keep chasing this. It's not easy, though, I'm not going to lie. When you've built memories with someone, when you've shared inside jokes, late-night talks, future plans, letting go of that feels like losing a piece of yourself. It's not just about losing the person, it's about losing the version of yourself you were when you were with them. And that's why so many people stay stuck in dead-end situations. It's not just about the other person. It's about what being with them made you feel, and letting go of that is hard. But here's what most people don't realize until much later. Holding on to someone who doesn't want you anymore doesn't keep you connected to the good times. It just keeps you trapped in a loop of disappointment. You keep chasing those old moments, hoping they'll come back, while ignoring the fact that the person you're dealing with now isn't giving you that same energy anymore. And you deserve more than that. You deserve consistency. You deserve genuine effort. You deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation. And that can only happen when you stop settling for half-hearted, lukewarm situations. You'll also notice a shift in how disagreements or small conflicts are handled. When a woman is into you, even if you argue, there's a desire to fix it, to make things right. But when she stops wanting you, conflicts feel different. She might become indifferent. Arguments aren't about finding solutions anymore. They become cold, dismissive, or she simply avoids them altogether. Silence replaces resolution. That's a huge red flag, because people don't fight for things they don't care about. If she's no longer interested in making things work, no longer worried about whether you're upset, no longer invested in clearing up misunderstandings, it means she's emotionally checked out. And you'll pick up on it in the little stuff too. Like when you notice she stops sharing parts of her life with you. Things she used to tell you first now get mentioned casually. Or you find out about them through social media. Big things, little things. If she stops looping you into her world, it means she's creating distance, whether consciously or not. And distance in relationships is rarely accidental. It's either growing or breaking. And when it's breaking, it starts with silence, skipped conversations, and things left unsaid. A big thing I've seen in so many situations is when you go from being a priority plan to a backup option. You'll notice that if other things fall through, suddenly she remembers you exist. You get that random "what's up" text at midnight when her other plans didn't work out, or when she's bored. And while it might feel good in the moment, it's a trap. Because you're not being chosen. You're being used to fill a temporary void. It's not about wanting you, it's about filling space. And if you keep allowing that, you end up being nothing more than a convenience. And that's not a position you ever want to be in. This is why self-awareness is so important in these situations. When you start to notice these patterns, the delayed replies, the lack of enthusiasm, the emotional unavailability, it's not your job to fix it. It's not your job to beg, convince, or prove your worth. The healthiest move you can make is to detach, to preserve your dignity, and to redirect your energy toward people and situations where you're appreciated. Because here's what always happens in the long run. People notice when you pull away, when you stop chasing, when you stop being available, when you start valuing your time again, it sends a powerful message. And sometimes they come back, not always because they genuinely miss you, but because they miss the attention, the validation, the safety of knowing you were always there. But by then, if you've done this right, you won't be interested anymore. You'll have outgrown that situation. You'll have realized that you were chasing someone who couldn't even match your energy, and that there are people out there who will. And that's the part nobody tells you. That moving on, even when it's hard, even when you still care, is sometimes the most attractive, powerful thing you can do. It's not about revenge. It's not about making them jealous. It's about choosing yourself. About understanding that no matter how good the past was, you can't build a future on one-sided effort. And once you really understand that, everything changes. What's wild is that once you finally break that cycle of chasing after people who aren't choosing you, it feels like a weight you didn't even realize you were carrying just falls off. You start walking different, thinking clearer, and honestly, you gain this quiet confidence that only comes from knowing your worth. It's not loud. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's just this inner calm that says, if you want to leave, go ahead. I'll be fine. And trust me, that kind of energy changes everything. You stop panicking when someone takes too long to text back. You stop overanalyzing every word in a message. You stop feeling like you need to convince people to see your value. Because the truth is, the right ones won't need convincing. When someone genuinely wants you, you won't have to question it. You won't have to chase clarity. Their actions will match their words. The interest will be mutual. The energy will be effortless. And once you've experienced that, you realize how draining it was to fight for the bare minimum. A lot of people spend so much time trying to hold on to something that's already slipping through their fingers, not realizing that letting go opens the door to something better. Better doesn't always mean flashier, louder, or more dramatic. It just means mutual, consistent, peaceful. It means no games, no second guessing, no cold shoulders masked as busy. And that's the kind of connection you build your peace around, not the kind you lose sleep over. Now, if you're watching this and some of this hit too close to home, that's a good thing. It means you're waking up to what you've been tolerating. It means you're starting to notice how often you've overlooked obvious signs because you didn't want to deal with what they meant. And that's not something to be ashamed of. We've all been there. We've all tried to squeeze meaning out of mixed signals, clung to memories of how good things used to be, and ignored red flags because we were hoping it would turn around. But what makes you stronger is what you do once you realize it. You don't have to stay stuck in a story where you're always chasing someone's attention. You don't have to keep pouring energy into conversations that feel forced or relationships where you're always the one holding it together. You don't have to tolerate lukewarm affection just because you're afraid of starting over. Because starting over might be scary, but staying stuck in something one-sided is worse. It quietly eats away at your confidence, makes you second-guess your worth, and keeps you from experiencing what a real, healthy connection actually feels like. And here's what's even better. The more you pull away from people who don't value you, the more space you create for people who will. It's not just a cliche, it's real. The energy you stop wasting on the wrong ones gets redirected. Your focus sharpens, your standards rise. You learn to spot those early signs faster, and you don't stick around once you see them. You don't argue with someone's lack of effort. You don't negotiate with someone's indecision. You just quietly remove yourself and keep it moving. And that's how you build a life filled with people who actually deserve your time, your energy, and your presence. Because at the end of the day, life's too short to spend it begging for attention, waiting around for mixed signals, or settling for being someone's second choice. You deserve to be with people who show up for you, who match your energy, who make you feel seen, heard, and valued without having to fight for it. And those people are out there, but you won't find them if you're too busy holding on to dead weight. It's like trying to swim with heavy rocks in your pockets. No matter how strong you are, it slows you down, wears you out, and keeps you from reaching where you're meant to be. The moment you decide to let go of what's weighing you down, the half-hearted connections, the people who can't give you a straight answer, the ones who treat you like an option, you start moving lighter, faster, and with way more clarity. And here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. The people who truly belong in your life won't make you feel like you're hard to love. They won't leave you guessing. They won't make you fight for a sliver of their attention. Real connections don't drain you, they build you up. They feel safe. They feel natural. They bring out the calm, secure version of you, not the anxious, overthinking, constantly wondering version. So, if you've been noticing these signs, the emotional distance, the short replies, the fading effort, believe them. Don't argue with what's right in front of you. And don't waste time trying to win someone over who's already decided they're not choosing you. Instead, let them go. Not because you're bitter, not because you're playing games, but because you respect yourself too much to stick around where you're not wanted. And the moment you make that decision, things start to shift. You get your peace back. Your confidence grows. You stop being afraid of what you might lose because you realize what you're gaining by letting go is so much more valuable. And yeah, it might hurt at first. It might sting to finally accept what you've been avoiding. But pain fades. And on the other side of that pain is freedom. Freedom from chasing, freedom from confusion, freedom from people who don't value what you bring to the table. The bottom line is this. When a woman doesn't want you, she'll show you in 100 little ways, and it's your job to recognize it. Not to punish her for it, not to beg her to change her mind, but to respectfully accept it and move on. Because every moment you spend chasing someone who's not interested is a moment you could be spending building yourself up, focusing on your growth, and making room for people who will value you the way you deserve. That's how you win. Not by forcing your way into someone's heart, but by knowing when to walk away with your dignity, your peace, and your standards still intact. If you like this, go watch the next video. It gets even better.